What's up, guys? Here are my predictions for UFC 225 happening this weekend, and one of the best cards of the year. You can argue second or the best card of the year coming up. And for this prediction video, I've broken my record of how many fights I've covered in one of these videos. So for this one, I'm going to be covering 11 fights. Mainly because how stacked this card is. I mean, we have Joseph Benavidez versus Sergio Pettis, Rashad Evans, Clay Guida, all on the Fight Pass. So when you want to watch this card, I recommend starting with the Fight Pass and going all the way till the main event because you will not be disappointed. So we're going to start with Clay Guida versus Charles Oliveira. Now this is an interesting fight. Clay Guida is long in the tooth here, later in his career. Oliveira is here at lightweight. He's been in the lightweight for a couple fights now, but he hasn't looked too good here as of late. His last fight was a loss to Paul Felder, and it was a devastating loss, very one-sided. But we got Clay Guida, who's more of a wrestler than anything, cardio machine, tough, known for a chin, and known for submission defense, although that invulnerability has become a more vulnerability later in his career, where he's been submitted by Dennis Bermudez, and he was submitted by Thiago Tavares, but both of those were at featherweight. At lightweight, he is just a lot more rejuvenated, he's a lot more energy there, and he's stronger as well, like you saw in his fight with Joe Lozon. Now, he's not a technical striker by any means, he's very wild on the feet, he moves a little bit too much at times, to the point where he runs into some things they should be running into because of how much he moves, which tells you it's not the most calculated movement, but he just puts a pace on the opponent. Right, and Charles Oliveira doesn't have the cardio that Clay Guida is going to have, and Oliveira's a little bit more explosive, especially with the submissions and some head kicks on the feet. He'll throw leg kicks as well. He's good with the tie clinch, good with driving up knees and all that kind of stuff, using his length. Even coming from featherweight, he's going to have a height and reach advantage over Clay Guida. But the biggest danger from Oliveira are his submissions, especially in the guard, where he goes for guillotines, he goes for triangles, and he's really good at the Peruvian necktie. But Clay Guida, as we all know, he is pretty good at stopping those kind of submissions, keeping the pressure on top when he takes the opponent down, and he's very good with ground and pound and keeping a high output with that pressure. So my prediction for the fight is a rather tough one because of where Clay Guida is at in his career, but I could be wrong here, but I'm going to go with Clay Guida. I'm going to go by a decision. I think he's going to be able to stop some of those submissions. It's going to be dicey there. I can see him getting caught by a guillotine, but I can see him stopping them, keeping pressure on top, and then grinding out to a decision. And then we go to Joseph Benavidez versus Sergio Pettis, one of the most important fights of the flyweight division. Two top contenders, and crazy how they're in the Fight Pass. They're not even headlining the Fight Pass. But you got Joseph Benavidez, well-rounded fighter, big puncher with good submissions, especially that guillotine of his. Famous for his guillotine. He's good with takedowns himself. He's the better wrestler out of the two. And I think he's a little bit more physical than Sergio Pettis. He has big power with his hands, but he's not as technical of a striker. Actually, nowhere near it. He's good with body shots, and he wings his punches a little bit too much, which I don't think is going to work on Pettis. Pettis is really good at keeping distance, and he's really good at countering opponents. He's a lot more sharp than Anthony Pettis with his hands, especially with counters. And he's good with head kicks and body kicks. He's not as flashy, though, where he'll leave any openings for Joseph Benavidez. So Benavidez' best thing to go for is just drive in for takedowns. Take him down and just wear him out. Look for the submissions. Soften up with some ground and pound. It's going to be tough, though. Pettis is very quick on his feet. Longer as well. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage as well as a 2-inch height advantage. And he is very reminiscent to his older brother. Taekwondo kind of a fighter, but he's more basic with everything. He has a pretty good guard game, but he uses it more to get up from the bottom. But my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Joseph Benavidez. I don't think Pettis is going to be able to get off on the bottom. I think Benavidez will be able to take him down. But if Benavidez does decide to strike with Pettis, I can see Pettis winning this. It depends what Benavidez wants to do in this one. So I'm going to go with Benavidez. I'm going to go by a decision. Then we go to Rashad Evans versus Anthony Smith. Now, this is a really tough fight to call because of where Rashad Evans is in his career. Light heavyweight went to middleweight and now back up to light heavyweight to fight a much bigger Anthony Smith. Evans, great wrestler, powerful double legs, very explosive even at his age. I mean, he looks really good too, especially with his physique and everything like that. But I don't think he's shying physically. I think he's shying mentally. He just can't pull the trigger. He throws the same kind of punches with the same patterns. Nobody's falling for it. He tries to fake him with the lead hand. He tries to create the distance, and then he just wings out the right overhand. Even Daniel Kelly, who's not that proficient in striking, was able to get away from all of that stuff. He will throw some high kicks there and there, but he's not setting it up. Everything is just naked. Everything is just coming from a distance, and it's very easy at a time. Now, against a guy like Smith, he's going to have to close the distance on this guy. Smith is going to fire from that distance, and if Rashad just can't get in there, it's going to be a rough night for him. But then again, he's a very powerful wrestler. I think that's something that could work in this fight. Anthony Smith is more of a striker than anything. Always looks for the finishes. Now, he is pretty good offensively. Well, he will strike with those long-range punches, and if he he can keep you on the end of those punches, it's going to be very hard to get anything off on him. But he is very vulnerable defensively. He doesn't bring his hands up. His chin is always open. He doesn't retract his punches very well, and he doesn't set up things behind those long punches. Everything's committed. So if you can get in the retractions that many fighters have done in the past, you can clip the chin of Smith, and although he has good recovery, he doesn't have the best chin. So this is going to be a tough one to call. If this was prime Rashad, I would pick Rashad all day here. So for this one, I'm going to go with Anthony Smith. I don't think Rashad is going to be too offensive. I think he's going to stay back too much, and I think he's going to stay at that range to the point where he's not getting hit by anything too hard, but he's not allowing himself to get anything off on Smith. So ultimately, I think this is going to go to a decision, Smith winning the fight. Then we go to Ricardo Lamas versus Mirsad Bektic on the prelims. Now, this is a big fight for Mirsad Bektic because Ricardo Lamas is one of the originals, I guess you would want to say, in the top 10 of the featherweight division. He's always been in the top 10. He's actually been in the top 5 for a long time, but he just came out of the top 5. Very good wrestler, has developed more of this striking style, very athletic striking, dynamic as well. He'll throw spinning kicks that you've never seen earlier in his career. He has big power as well, commits a lot, really good with the left hook, really good with his jab as well. His jab is very laser-like, and he has excellent leg kicks, excellent elbows with the ground and pound. That's the biggest thing about Ricardo Lamas. If he takes you down, prepare for some of the most violent ground and pound in this division that you'll ever see. But he's not the most durable fighter in terms of taking a shot, and sometimes he'll commit a little bit too much. He'll wing punches a little bit too much, and that's the kind of fight that Bektic wants. Bektic wants to go back and forth with Lamas, and Bektic himself is a very powerful wrestler. These two actually are very similar in a lot of disciplines in this game. Good wrestler, athletic striker, dynamic as well. He'll throw head kicks, set them up pretty well. He's, I think, a better boxer technically than Ricardo Lamas. He sets things up really tight, and he doesn't wing punches out too much, which is why I think he would want Lamas to come and try to trade with him so he can shoot shots down the pipe, catch Lamas on the inside, maybe land some leg kicks and stuff like that. But Bektic doesn't have the best gas tank. And that's the biggest thing that's going to be hindering him in this fight. Because Lamas has gone 5 rounds before and hasn't gassed out doing that. So my prediction for this fight, this is a very tough fight to call, but I'm going to go with Ricardo Lamas. I'm going to go by a decision. I think this is going to be a very close fight. Then we're going to Claudia Gadelha versus Carla Esparza, 2 of the top-ranked fighters in the strawweight division. You got Claudia Gadelha, who is one of the most powerful fighters in this division. Probably the best BJJ when you talk about fundamentals and basics. One of the best double legs in this division. You could even argue probably does have the best double leg, but she's fighting the best wrestler in this division, or top 2 if you count Tatiana Suarez. Claudia also has very dynamic striking, powerful, very fast in the feet with her hands. She is technically and attribute-wise, she is among the best. You can even put her at the top. The only thing that lacks in her game is cardio. After the first round, she is a different fighter. If you look at her past fights, she has never lost the first round. She is very hard to deal with in that first round because she's so technically sound and she's so powerful. She's so fast, athletic. It's hard to get anything off on her. Even Joanna in both the fights, even Jessica Andrade, I mean, everybody she's fought, they had a really hard time with her in the first round. And on the ground, she's good at finding the back like she did at Carolina. Very good with pressure. She keeps position though. She doesn't risk position like you see Rose Namajunas, right? Will go for submissions rather than position. She will stick with position, and if the submissions present themselves, she'll take that. But she also has pretty good ground and pound with that. And then go to Carla Esparza, who is a wrestler through and through. Doesn't have the best striking, but she blitzes in a lot. 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. But they're all the same punches, exchanging hands, right? But other than that, she doesn't do a whole lot on the feet. Right? She always looks for the double legs, always looks for the single legs. She's a better wrestler, I think, but she's not as strong as Claudia, which is going to be a problem here. So my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Claudia. I'm going to go by a decision. I think it's going to be a more one-sided fight. And then we go to the headliner on the prelims, Alistair Overeem versus Curtis Blaydes. Now this fight means a lot for the heavyweight division, especially if Blaydes wins this. And it's a striker versus wrestler matchup. Alistair Overeem, one of the best kickboxers in this division, one of the most credentialed kickboxers in the UFC. Huge knockout power. He does everything well on the feet. Side kicks to the leg, body kicks. He can fight in either stance equally, although he takes more of a southpaw stance. He likes when his power leg is open in opposite stances. He has a very good straight left hand, and he has a good left overhand, but late in his career, he has fought for a very long time, and you start to see some desperation from Alistair Overeem in his fights. He wings out punches a lot more than he used to, and he's been caught because of it, like against Francis Ngannou, and he just misses many times. But he has very good timing, and he has very good precision, even on the inside. He has excellent leg kicks here as well, but I don't think he's going to go for any of that. I think he's going to try to use his boxing, use some knees in the clinch, try to tie up Curtis Blaydes if it gets in there, driving knees to the body, knees to the head, elbows over the top, and I think he just wants to keep it at a distance and fire down long-range strikes because Curtis Blaydes is one of the best wrestlers in this division, very strong, one of the biggest fighters in this division as well. I mean, he's going to match Overeem with the strength, and his double legs are super explosive. He covers a lot of ground behind them. His striking's alarming at times. He wings out punches a little bit too much, although he says that he doesn't want to get in exchanges with opponents, but he does it. And you saw with Mark Hunt, he was trying to exchange with Mark Hunt a little bit too much, and he got rocked doing so. Good thing that Curtis Blaydes has an amazing chin. I mean, getting rocked by Francis Ngannou and Mark Hunt and not getting knocked out by either of them shows that this guy's chin is pretty good, and Overeem does not have a good chin. So even though Curtis Blaydes isn't the best striker, he could clip Overeem here. They're both heavyweights, and Blaydes is very long and powerful. But he's going to look for those takedowns, and Overeem on the ground, he has a very dangerous guillotine, and he has pretty good takedown defense himself. But my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Alistair Overeem here. But I think his takedown defense is going to be enough, and I think he's going to be able to keep Blaydes on the feet. Now, honestly here, I think Curtis Blaydes' best shot at winning this fight is actually clipping Overeem on the feet. I think the takedowns are not going to be good enough. I don't think he's going to have the timing. I don't think he's going to have the distance to catch Overeem off guard. Nobody really takes Overeem down and controls him, right? Unless he makes a mistake of throwing some leg kick and it gets caught. So I'm going to go with Overeem, and I'm going to go by a 3rd round TKO. Then we go to CM Punk versus Mike Jackson. Not so much we could look at. They both only had one fight in their professional MMA careers. One fight in the UFC, both to Mickey Gall, both lost to Mickey Gall in the first round. I'm just going to skip ahead. Mike Jackson, I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to win by a 2nd round TKO. He has better boxing. He did compete in boxing. His footwork's a lot better. Everything about fundamentals he has over CM Punk as of what we've seen, right? CM Punk's been out for a long time, so we don't know how much he's going to progress, but I'm going to go with Mike Jackson being the more experienced fighter here. Then we go to Andrei Arlovski versus Tai Tuivasa. Another important fight for the heavyweight division, especially in Tuivasa's part. Andrei Arlovski, very long in the tooth. Chin has been touched many times in his career. It's been flabby as of late. He has big power though, fast hands, although his punches have become a lot more labored. A lot of shoulder problems, I think he said that he had, which complicates some of his punching. He can't reach out as far as he used to, and some of the snap is gone. Even though he does have pretty big power, it's not what he used to be. Now, as of late, he's been working in the clinch a lot, looking for takedowns, and that is something he's definitely going to have to do against Tai Tuivasa. Because on the feet, I don't see him doing anything to Tuivasa. He can land some back fists there and there. He's longer than Tuivasa. Maybe stick some jabs and try to throw an overhand, but it's going to be very dangerous. I think he's going to have to work the clinch, try to take it to the ground like he did in his last fight, and just be the more experienced fighter in there. Because Tai Tuivasa has insane knockout power. None of his fights ever went past the first round. Fight's very short as well. He's very good at closing distance. He's good at rushing opponents backwards, putting a lot of pressure on them. And he creates this hesitation from opponents because of this, right? He comes on a little bit too strong sometimes, but he's not defensively irresponsible. He knows how to defend shots even coming in the way he does. He's really good at blocking shots, and he's really good at entering with his straight right hand, with his elbow. Very good at closing that distance quickly because he is one of the most athletic fighters in this division. Surprisingly so. He's good with landing those flying knees. He's good with the elbows on the inside. His inside fighting is going to be Arlovski's downfall in this one. But we haven't really seen his takedown defense, so that's the biggest question coming into this one. But my prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa. I'm going to go by a 1st round knockout. Then we go to Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson. Another very important fight if Megan Anderson wins this one. I realize there's a lot of prospects versus veterans, I guess you would say, on this card. Both are strikers. Holly Holm, more of a kickboxing style, very good with high kicks, very good with her boxing as well, especially with that left hand. She keeps a jab from a distance, but although for the first time in her career, she's going to be the much shorter fighter. Megan Anderson is probably the biggest woman in the UFC. She's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage with a 4-inch height advantage. And it's going to be something new to Holly Holm. But Holly's very good with countering with the left hand, although she's not too good offensively with it. But she will set it up with the jab, and she's good with the lead side kick as well. To the legs, to the body, and she's good with the question mark kick off either leg. Now the thing about Holly Holm is she telegraphs a lot, right? She will yell before she throws strikes. She will throw from too far. She'll throw a 4 punch combination, but the first 2 will be too short, giving the opponent enough time to counter her. And that's going to be the biggest thing in this one. If she's going to do that against a longer fighter, and especially with a knockout artist like Megan Anderson, that's going to be very dangerous here. But Holly Holm has very good footwork. She moves a lot, but she moves in one direction with the same skipping pattern, which can also be pretty predictable here. Megan Anderson's more of a Muay Thai fighter. Fights very long. She's very offensive. Defensively, she is a bit irresponsible at times. She leaves herself open as she comes in, leaves her chin up as well, and she could be countered with the left hand over and over again. Because of that, but she's very good keeping distance though. And in the clinch, I think is going to be the biggest advantage. Mika Anderson's clinch work is probably the best I've seen, at least among the current featherweights, if not all the women in the UFC. Her knees, her elbows, she's very controlling and powerful in there. She's good at driving it into the cage, landing knees through that, and she's really good at separating and throwing her long range punches and keeping you trapped against the cage. So my prediction for this one, this is going to be a very close contested fight, I believe. But I'm going to go with Mika Anderson. I could see Holm pulling this one off, especially with her counter shots and bringing in the longer fighter, the bigger fighter, and be more experienced in there. But I see Mika Anderson catching Holm from a distance, so I see Mika Anderson winning by a decision. And then we go to the co-main event. Rafael dos Anjos versus Colby Covington for the welterweight interim title. Now this is a really big fight here. Rafael dos Anjos is one of the most well-rounded fighters in this entire division. Great striker, Muay Thai based, southpaw as well. Leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks. Good with sending things entirely off that jab. He has a very fast jab and very good at using it to enter distance, and very good with that left hand of his. And in the welterweight division, he's been using his speed rather than his power that he used to use in the lightweight division. You saw that in the Robbie Lawler fight. He was able to land so many strikes, throwing combinations and exiting intelligently at the right times as well. When opponents try to land those counter shots on him, he's right out of that distance. He will look for those double legs as well. He's a very good wrestler. And on the ground, very good jiu-jitsu, very good at sweeping, but he's more pressuring. He likes to be on top more, but when he's on the bottom, we haven't seen too much of him as of late. Last time we really seen him getting taken down and controlled was against Khabib, and that was a very long time ago. But Colby Covington is a bigger fighter, so that's going to be very interesting where that's going to go. And he has a very good gas tank as well, both these guys do. Colby Covington is a wrestler. Now, he is a bit sloppy on the feet. He tries to box. He doesn't use his feet for anything. I mean, he kind of leans over for his strikes. He doesn't cover enough distance for that. And I think a guy like Dos Anjos is going to be able to counter him because of that. Going to be able to draw out some of those strikes. Colby can be pretty predictable with that stuff, but he is an exceptional wrestler. He has very good timed shots, and I think he's going to be looking for that against Dos Anjos and try to just control the fight. Try to just pressure Dos Anjos over and over again. Try to bring out RDA's attacks, diving under for those double legs. So my pressure for this fight, I'm going to go with Rafael dos Anjos. I'm going to go by a 4th round TKO. But I see this being a lot closer than people think. I just think Colby, not having the 5-round experience that RDA has, is going to limit his output, and it's going to eventually fatigue him. Then we go to the main event. Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero, the rematch. Now, this is probably the hardest fight to call in the entire card. You got Robert Whittaker, who is a karate fighter, has some of the best takedown defense I've ever seen. Very good whizzer, good at keeping distance with the takedowns, shifting his hips inside those takedowns against guys like Yoel Romero and Jacare. Two most credentialed wrestler/grapplers in this division, and Whittaker stuffed both their takedowns easily, even off one leg against Romero. Now, he's very good with blitzing in, very good long strikes, excellent timing, and excellent precision. He's also amazing at slipping shots on the inside, landing counter shots because of that. He's very good with the uppercuts as well, and he's exceptional at exiting with small distances. And because of that, he lands those head kicks as well, sets you up with those, comes in on you, moves, then slows down his tempo while you move backwards, and he's setting up the head kick behind that. But then you go Yoel Romero, who is an exceptional wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the entire UFC. But he's been striking a lot more. He's been using his wrestling more for defense. Although against Whittaker, of course, he would try to use that as an offense. Romero is a very dynamic striker, one of the most athletic fighters you'll ever see compete in the UFC. Even at his age, you could still argue he's in his prime, considering MMA. Excellent hook kicks, excellent left overhand, left cross, great jabs, and he has a slow tempo, lolling stance he controls opponents with. It's very strange. Opponents know how explosive he is. They don't want to risk anything against him, so they fall into this lolling game with Romero, and they keep it at his pace because Romero doesn't have the best cardio. Whittaker in the last fight also gassed out a little bit, but then again, he was fighting on one leg, which taxes you a lot more, right? Romero, though, when he's able to slow down the fight, it keeps his gas tank at a pretty high level for the majority of the fight, right? He likes to just explode and exit and then lull you. Explode and exit and lull you. That's the kind of thing he tries to go for, generally speaking. And in his last fight with Rockhold, this is exactly what he did. And Romero developed this very patient defensive game where he's using these cross guards and all that kind of stuff to block shots, which can very well work against Whittaker. So my prediction for this fight, man, this is a very tough one to call. It's almost even for me. If I have to make a prediction, I'm going to go with Yoel Romero. The reason why I'm going with Yoel Romero, I think he's going to take that patient game, and I think it's going to be an explosion for blitz kind of a fight, Romero's explosion against Robert Whittaker's blitz, and I see them both being patient in between those exchanges. And that's going to ultimately play Romero's game. I see Romero timing the takedowns rather than forcing them like last time. And I see him landing those leg kicks like last time because Whittaker doesn't check them too well. And his karate base just doesn't allow him sometimes. But man, I can go back and forth with this one. But I'm going to go with Romero. I'm going to go by a 3rd or 4th round TKO. I see him catching Whittaker eventually due to this patient style pressuring Whittaker backwards. So those are my predictions, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. For my next video, I'm going to come out with my Michael Bisping Legacy video. Now, I've been working a lot on this video. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a pretty long one. I'm doing things a little bit different where I'm covering almost his entire career and basing everything off that. So be lookout for that. It's going to come out in a few days. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.